All right, the video started. Guys, I apologize. I made this last minute. Please add these two lines here. How many solutions? I'm going to show you how to find that. Because you're doing the long way, you don't really need to do the thing I'm about to show you, but there will be questions where I just simply ask you how many solutions. And then the last thing is the y-intercept. The y is weird, so the y-intercept. And I'll talk about what that means. It's pretty obvious what it means when you see it. All right, first thing we're going to do is y equals x squared. So y equals x squared. In this case, I got to do my ABC. In this scenario, A is 1, B is 0, and C is 0. And that's okay. Now, I want to do the axis of symmetry. The formula for the axis of symmetry, please remember it, will not be given on the test. It's negative B over 2A. Negative B over 2A. So I'm going to do negative 0 over 2 times 1. In this scenario, it's 0 on top. So I don't really care what happens. It's going to be 0 overall. So 0 is my axis of symmetry. What's nice is the axis of symmetry gives me the first part of my vertex. It's going to be 0 comma something. So what I'm going to do is going to take the 0 and I'm going to plug it into this 0 and plug it into my original equation, which is y equals x squared. So each question is going to have different y's. So y equals 0 squared. In this case, it happens to also be 0. So 0, 0, which happens to be the origin. Now, for your x's, the easiest way to do it is to go 2 smaller, 2 bigger. So I'm going to go negative 1, negative 2, and 1, 2. Now, to get the answers, luckily, if you do it correctly, these two are going to be the same, and these two are going to be the same. Negative 2 and 2. So we're going to do both of these. So I'm going to use positive 1. You can use any one. So y equals positive 1 squared. I'm just replugging it into the equation. So y equals 1. So if this one's 1, this is also 1. Yeah, just to prove it, y equals negative 1 squared. I know, I see it. I'll give it a second. So then it's going to be negative 1 times negative 1, y equals 1. So if you ever need to check your work, you could plug in the other one. The other one is going to be 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. So if this is 4, this is 4. Now, your focus is to graph this. You're going to take the table and graph this. So when I see negative 2 comma 4, yes, I apologize. I went a little fast on that. Y equals 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. So, how many solutions or zeros? Zeros is what are the solutions? How many solutions uses the number there? So, for example, for this one, we're going to do negative 2 comma 4. You can start at the middle or you can start at the edge. It doesn't matter. So negative 2, 4, I go 2 left, 4 up. My first dot is here. Next one, negative 1, 1. I go 1 left, 1 up. 0 comma 0. I go 0 left and right, 0 up and down. I'm going to go 1, 1, which is 1 right, 1 up. And I'm going to do 2 comma 4, which is 2 right, 4 up. And we kind of know it should be a positive shape because it's an A value. The A is positive. Well, we got to fill in the rest now. But we did what I would say is the harder part. So the domain, always, for parabolas, is all real numbers. The symbol, if you want to write all real numbers really quickly, it's an R with a double back. So this represents all real numbers, but you could always just write all. Consider it a free point on this test, but in future lessons, like future chapters, domain is not always all real numbers. So eventually that will change. Wait, one question at a time, Cheryl. What is a real? Every number is a real number. It's all numbers. There are imaginary numbers. You'll learn that in algebra 2. Don't worry about that till Algebra 2. You'll learn that in Algebra 2. So that's 2 years in the future. Don't sweat it. Yes. That should be a free point on your test. Your range is going to work like this. Because you're going upwards, it's going to be y is greater than or equal to. If it was downwards, it would be less than or equal to. But because it's upwards, it's greater than or equal to. And it's going to be the y value of the vertex. So in this case, it's 0. It's always the y value of the vertex. If it's up, I guess put this little note here. If it's upwards, it's greater than or equal to. If it's downwards, it's less than or equal to. You want to put a note there or next to the range, I don't care.
What's zero?
Zeros are solutions. So, zeros, aka solutions, aka roots, aka, I forget what the fourth name is. Whatever. So these are where it hits the x-axis.
Which number do you call y greater than 0?
The y of the vertex. In this case, it's 0, 0, so they're both 0. And the next question will be different, so you'll see. Zeros, or solutions, or roots, is where it hits the x-axis. In this case, it only hits it once. So it's at 0.
Wait, how many times it hits the what?
How many times it hits the x-axis is how many solutions it is. Yes.
Wait, hold on. So it hits the x-axis once.
Yes. So how many times does it hit? Once. So it's
Why
1.
Zero.
0 is the actual place it hits. 1 is how many times it hits.
So would it be 0, 0? Or
No, just 0.
why just 0?
Because it's the x value, which is just 0.
Okay, then.
You'll see in the second question where it's different, so it'll be a little obvious. Now, the y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. If zeros is where it hits the x-axis, y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. In this case, it happens to also be 0. It's a pretty boring question because they're all zeros, but you'll see in the next one we'll go on. Yo.
How do you find how many solutions?
How many solutions? How many times does it hit the x-axis? In this case, it only hits it once. I'm going to show you the formula later. The discriminant, I'll do that in a separate part.
Does anyone play block flag?
Yeah, that's a different thing, so we'll deal with that later. Where does it hit the x-axis? It hits it at 0. 2, it would be 2. You say 2 and negative 2. Those, if it hits it twice, you mentioned twice. The y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis, so the vertical line. All right, let's go to our next one. Remember, sorry about this. Please add how many solutions and y-intercept.
I'm reviving.
Guys. I know you're working on it, but a little bit quieter, please. All right. This one, x squared minus 4. So in this scenario, we identify our A, B, C's. So A in this case, because there's no number in front of x squared is 1. B, there's no x at all. Because there's no x at all, it must be 0. And C must be this number, which is by itself, negative 4. Okay? So remember, axis of symmetry is negative b over 2a. So negative 0 over 2 times 1. Remember, because I know it's 0, I don't care. So it's going to be 0. So the axis of symmetry is 0, which gives me the x of the vertex is 0.
Is there such thing as negative 0?
No, it's just 0. Then we're going to take the x of the vertex. Asher, Neil, if you're going to stand there because you're blocking the screen for people. Now, y of the vertex, I have to plug it in. So y equals 0 squared minus 4. Y ends up equaling negative 4.
Okay, calm down.
So since you have 0 here, this is negative 4, which I put negative 4 over here. In this situation, you go 2 smaller on the x's, so negative 1, negative 2, and 2 bigger on the x's, 1 and 2. Yeah. Again, you repeat the process. Sure. So it's going to be repeat the process with 1 or negative 1. I'll plug in if you really need to. So it's going to be 1 squared minus 4. 1 minus 4 equals negative 3. So this is negative 3. This is negative 3. If you need to. Next one. Y equals, I'm busy, 2 squared minus 4. I'm sorry, 4 minus 4 is 0. So because this is 0, the other one's 0. Sharon, let me quickly check while people catch up.
Let's say, since this is out of order, is the graph going to be wrong?
If you graph it correctly, it'll be okay, but it is out of order.
Okay, but it doesn't.
But
make a
wait,
difference.
it shouldn't be double negative. This one
I
should be
know,
positive. Oh, okay.
I erased it.
Is out of order.
Yeah, but he said it doesn't make a difference.
It's still out of order.
It is out of order. It's not technically wrong if you get all the numbers right, but it does make it harder for yourself if you do it out of
To
order.
me, it doesn't make it harder.
Then I don't care.
It doesn't make a difference.
Okay. So we have our points. Let's graph. Negative 2 comma 0. That's going to be 2 to the left. 0 up and down. Negative 1 comma 3. That's not the homework. That's the review sheet.
Wait, so if we finish it, the last one, right?
No. Negative 1, negative 3.
Which number?
I'll show you after I finish my review video. 0 comma negative 4. 1 comma negative 3. 2 comma 0. I did it a little fast, but you take your time on this on your test. Just sit down, man. You're blocking the screen for people when they're watching. So, the domain is all real numbers. By the way, for this test, it's always all real numbers. I don't know. We'll see. The range, Shanair, sit down. So y is greater than or equal to. Remember, it's the y of the vertex. So y is greater than or equal to negative 4. The zeros is where it hits the x-axis. In this case, it hits it here and here. So negative 2 and 2. Where it hits the x-axis, which are the zeros/root/solutions. How many solutions? There are 2 solutions in this case. It hits it twice. And then the y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. In this case, it hits it at negative 4. How many solutions? So how many times does it hit the x-axis?
So zeros is what number it is.
Yes.
And how many times?
Yes. But I can say, remember, the words zeros, roots, solutions, they're interchangeable. So if I said how many roots, it'd still be 2. If I said how many zeros, it'd still be 2. And if I said solutions, you still be giving me negative 2 and 2. Those words are interchangeable. No, I want you to know that they're interchangeable. So if you want to put a note, solution is interchangeable to zeros, which is interchangeable to roots. Those are solutions to zeros, which are things that hit the x-axis. I'm just saying, they're all different names, which you, especially when you do SAT eventually, that's where it matters.
That's like everything came together.
All right, we're going to the next one. A is negative 1. B is 4. C is negative 4. Remember, it's negative b over 2a. So negative 4 over 2. That's the determinant. I'm not doing it on this paper. I'll just do a review it tomorrow.
I said if I had the homework from it.
It will be on the test.
I said if I finished homework from yesterday, then I'd put it. Alright.
I did say I was thinking about it, and I'm probably going to think, yeah, but you got to sit down.
I did the homework from yesterday.
Where? On Google Classroom?
Yeah, I think I should put it.
Can I check it? Let me check it after the video, though, okay? No. I will check it after the video. So the axis symmetry is 2 in this case, which makes it the x of the vertex. So I'm going to take this x of the vertex and plug it into my equation. Please remember, there's a negative in front of the x squared, so it's going to be 2 squared happens first, then the negative. Plus 4 times 2, minus 4. So this is negative 4 plus 8 minus 4. That ends up being 0 overall. So in the middle of the table, you put 2 comma 0. Remember, for your x's, you do 2 smaller and 2 bigger. So 1 and 0. Yes.
For the 2 in the beginning, like over there, do I have to make a negative?
This negative 2?
No. Like when you want to get in, like the red one.
Right here?
Yeah.
No, it's 2 squared first, then it becomes negative. So it becomes negative 4 overall. You do not put the negative inside first. Do not do that. Exponents go before multiplication. Now I'm going to do 1 or 3. Looks like 1 it would be easier. So negative 1 squared plus 4 times 1 minus 4. Negative 1 plus 4 minus 4. Guys, equals negative 1. So this is negative 1. This is also negative 1. Again, we're going to do it again. 0 or 4. 0 is a little easier, so I'm going to plug in 0. Negative 0 squared. Guys. Aaron. Times 4 plus 0 plus 4. Or, I'm sorry, minus 4. So 0 plus 0 minus 4 equals negative 4. Minus 4 minus 4. In this case, you go to graph now. So 0 comma negative 4. So 0 left to right, down 4. 1 comma negative 1. 1 right, 1 down. 2 comma 0. 3 right, 1 down. 4 right, 4 down. If your thing does not come into that U/V shape called a parabola, you know you did something wrong. If it comes out like a W, you probably messed up the vertex or something. Yes. Yes. Sure.
The only good thing about leaving is I plugged in the 4 and it didn't come out.
4 squared 16
4 times 4
is 16.
minus
Oh, you forgot the little negative, that's why. This would be negative 16 because you forgot the little negative from the x squared. So the domain is all reals. Range, pay attention to this. Guys, the range in this case is y is less than or equal to, because it's downwards, 0. And it's 0 because the vertex, the y of the vertex is 0. Your zeros in this case, where it hits the x-axis, is 2. Oh, I forgot to write it. The y-intercept is going to be where it hits the y-axis, which in this case is negative 4. Let's do our last one. A in this case is 2. B is 8. C is 0. So negative b over 2a. Negative 8 over 2 times 2. Negative 8 over 4. Negative 2. So the axis symmetry is negative 2, and the x of the vertex is negative 2. Since that's negative 2, I could plug it into this equation.
So the one before the one you're doing now, it was like
Say that one more time.
what do I do for the zero?
For the zeros, it's where it hits the x-axis. In this case, it only hits the x-axis at 2. So your answer for zeros, or solutions or roots, is 2. And then just put down the y-intercept is negative 4, because that's where it hits the y-axis. Y-intercept is negative 4. All right, let's continue. Negative 2 squared happens first. That's 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 2 is negative 16. So the result is negative 8. Remember, 2 smaller, negative 1, 0. 2 bigger, 3, negative 4. Or actually messed up the order. It doesn't really matter though. So between negative 1 and negative 3, I'll put negative 1. So 2 times negative 1 squared plus 8 times negative 1. Negative 1's positive. So that's 2 minus 8. That's negative 6. So if this is negative 6, this is negative 6. And these should be the same. So 0 and negative 4, I'll plug in 0. 2 times 0 squared plus 8 times 0. 0 plus 0 equals 0. So this is 0 and this is 0. Go to graph the points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 3. Oh, I should be negative. My bad. I messed up. 6, 8, 6, 0. So this is your parabola. Again, should be a V/U shape. I forgot to put the vertex as negative 8 over here. Domain, free points, don't leave it on the ground. All reals. Range, y is greater or equal to negative 8. The zeros is where it hits the x-axis, which is negative 4 and 0, and there are 2 of them. And the y-intercept is where it hits the y-axis. Incidentally, it's also 0. Okay. Tomorrow, I'll talk about the other things, but mainly, most of your things are graphing. The only thing I think I'm going to be doing tomorrow in review is discriminant, and then give you a full review packet, okay? Hope this helps.
I'm at 4.6.